Hello again, this is Andy Nicol, the course tutor for the Perfectly Spoken Advanced course. And in this lesson, the final lesson in the course, lesson 60, we're going to be doing a review of lessons 56 to 59. So in terms of this review, we're going to look at the following. The verbs of the senses that we covered in lessons 56 and 58. The vocabulary from lesson 57 of extremes of nature, natural disasters, and so on. And also the vocabulary of fears and phobias, different types of fear, and also idiomatic expressions related to fear and phobia. And then at the very end, we will have a look at some can-do statements. This talks about the things that this course will have given you if you follow this course from beginning to end, all the different things that you'll be able to talk about and the vocabulary that you will have developed in the course of this course. So, first of all, I want to look at the verbs of the senses and to choose the correct option in each case. Okay, there's a picture of my toaster from my kitchen. It's a big one. I like toast. And the sentence is, I can smell or I'm smelling something burning. Did you set the toaster too high again? Okay, so we're talking in the present. We're talking about now. Normally, we would use present continuous to talk about something happening now. But in this case, verbs of the senses, of course, they're state verbs, and we prefer to use can smell. We don't use the present continuous. Okay, here's the next one. I'm seeing my careers advisor today to talk about my future, or I see my careers advisor today to talk about my future. Okay, which of these is correct? And the answer is I'm seeing. But wait, you told us that we cannot use continuous tenses with verbs of the senses, but some verbs of the senses have different meanings, and the verb see here means that you're going to visit him. You have a meeting with him, and in that sense, we're not talking about seeing using our eyes as such, we're talking about meeting or visiting. In this case, it can be continuous. I'm seeing. Obviously, this is for the future. The present continuous for the future rather than now. Okay, number 3. Can you turn that music down? Is it I'm not here or I can't hear myself think? And the answer is can't hear. I can't hear myself think. Turn that music down, please. I can't hear myself think. Number 4. I'm not tasting or can't taste any sugar in this tea. Are you sure you added some? Again, for the same reason, can't taste. This is the normal meaning of taste, as in to be able to sense the flavor of something. And we don't use it in a continuous form. I can't taste. Number 5, I heard her, is it going or went upstairs? Okay, well, hear or see with an object, we can either use an infinitive or a gerund. The infinitive with to, the infinitive without to is used when you hear or see the whole event. Whereas if you just hear a part of it or hear something in progress, then we use the gerund, and that's what we've got here. I heard her going upstairs. You could say I heard her go upstairs, which means that you heard her the whole thing. Get on the stairs and then go to her room and close her door. Okay? You cannot use the past here, went. So either going, if you heard her in the process of doing it, or go if you heard the whole thing. Okay. Here's the next one. Some business people making the shaking hands. Congratulations, I hear or I'm hearing that you've been given a promotion at work. Again, Here we would use I hear. We cannot use I'm hearing. It means this means I've actually received news about you. Number 7. Have you heard her sing, or have you heard her to sing that aria from Tosca? Again, as I mentioned before, after hear or see plus object, we either use the gerund or infinitive without to, which would be have you heard her sing that aria from Tosca? Aria is, of course, a long piece of music sung by one person. Vise d'arte, I think, is the famous one from Tosca. I live for art, or something like that, I think it's translated as. Or I have lived for art. Number 8. I'm not seeing a thing, or I can't see a thing. Can you move out the way? I'm not seeing, or I can't see. Again, can't see a thing. Again, we don't use the present continuous if see is referring to using your eyes, as it is in this case. Number 9. I must have been sleeping on my arm, and now it's numb. Numb means there's no sensation there. Is it I can't feel, or I'm not feeling a thing? Again, I can't feel a thing. I can't feel a thing. And finally, on this, I saw the man. Is it smash or to smash the window? So again, verb of the senses plus the object plus infinitive without to. Smash. I saw the man smash the window. You could use the gerund smashing to indicate you saw him in the process of doing it, but of course, to smash a window is quite an instantaneous act. It takes place very quickly, so probably you saw the whole thing. So smash the window is probably better. Okay, verbs of the senses again. This time we're going to look at things like seem and so on, and with other structures. So you've got brother and sister there. The boy's playing the trumpet. His sister's really annoyed, covering her ears, wants him to stop. He says, can you stop playing? It sounds somebody's being murdered. Sounds like somebody's being murdered. Sounds as if somebody's being murdered. Sounds as if somebody's being murdered. We use that with a full clause. Subject and verb. Well, this is obviously a passive. Somebody is being murdered. It's a passive structure. So we use sounds as if with a full clause. Okay. Is that your sister? She looks like, looks though, as though your mother. Well, the one meaning similar to is looks like. Physically, she looks like your mother. Looks like is followed by a noun or a noun phrase. That's like adjective and noun and so on. Number 3, this towel feels like or feels as if wet. Well, we've only got an adjective here, wet, so we just use the verb on its own. This towel feels wet. Can you hang it out to dry? As always, please pause the recording at any point if you need to think about the answer. Here's the next one. The milk smells like, smells as though, off. Again, off here is not a preposition. It means an adjective. It means it's gone off. It's past its sell-by date. It's not fresh anymore. Again, with an adjective, we just use the verb. Smells off. I'll nip out to the supermarket to get some. Nip out means to go somewhere for a short time and then return. Nip out. Number 5. Have some chewing gum. Your breath smells like or smells of garlic after all that garlic bread you've eaten. Well, smells like would be if it's a similar smell to garlic. But of course, you have actually eaten garlic bread, so it's not similar to garlic. In fact, it actually is garlic. So the answer is smells of garlic. Smells like it would be if you ate something that was similar to garlic but wasn't garlic. Okay, some more. So there's a lady, her head in her hands. She's obviously not very happy. She's upset or whatever. Is everything okay? Is it? You seem like or seem as though upset. Well, similar to the verb of the senses, seem as though is followed by a full clause. Seems like is followed by a noun phrase. Upset is just an adjective. So we just use the verb. You seem upset. She really looks like or looks as if she's had a really tough day. Well, she's had a really tough day is a full clause, subject, verb, etc. Looks as if. You could also say looks as though. It'd be exactly the same. Number 8. Can I help you? You seem like, seem to be, seem to have been. Okay, well, seem can be followed by the full infinitive with an adjective. Seem to be lost, seem to have been lost would be in the past. So, but we're talking about the present, so that's not possible. And seem like would be followed by you seem like you are lost. Okay, so it's seem to be lost. Touch this dress. Feel the texture. It feels silk, feels like silk, feels as if silk. Well, silk is a noun, so we wouldn't just say feels silk. Feels as if would be followed by a clause, so it's feels like. You could say it feels as if it is silk, which would be a clause, but feels like silk. It's similar to, or it could be, in fact, silk. Did you make this yourself? It tastes delicious, tastes like delicious, tastes of delicious. Again, delicious is an adjective, so just use the verb. Tastes. It tastes delicious. Okay, moving on. Extremes of nature. We covered this in lesson 57, looking at natural disasters, first of all. So complete the sentences. Flights have been cancelled due to a something in Iceland. Clouds of ash have been ejected into the atmosphere, making it extremely dangerous to fly. This has actually happened a few times in recent years. Flights, at least from my home country, Scotland, and the UK in general, etc., because we're close to Iceland, the flights had to be cancelled. And of course, it's a volcanic eruption, as you can see in the picture. Volcanic eruption. Number 2. In the film The Wizard of Oz, this was one of my favourite films as a child, although they played it every Christmas, and after a while I got a bit fed up of seeing it all the time. But it's a good film. The spiraling winds of something carried Dorothy, the main character, and her dog Toto to the magical land of Oz. Well, in North America, in places like Kansas, where Dorothy fictitious character Dorothy came from, they are subject to these spiraling winds a lot, and they are, of course, tornadoes. So the spiraling winds of a tornado, known as a cyclone, and so on in different parts of the world. But tornado in North America is called, sorry, that's a hurricane, beg your pardon. So tornado. Ignore that. Number 3, the something, an enormous wave of 10 meters in height, was caused by an earthquake at sea of 9.0 on the Richter scale. The Richter scale measures these tremors of the earthquakes. And of course, in the sea, what earthquakes cause, enormous waves, is a tsunami. Also, originally known as tidal wave, we have now adopted more and more the Japanese word tsunami. The very devastating one, of course, happened in Japan itself not so long ago. Number 4, people caught in something can die from suffocation, trauma, or hypothermia under the mass of snow. So when a huge mass of snow comes piling down the mountain, of course, it is a avalanche. So people caught in avalanches can die from suffocation. That's an inability to breathe, trauma, or hypothermia. Number 5, heavy rain has led to something with many people having to abandon their homes, to leave their homes partly submerged underwater. So heavy rain, your house is underwater, is of course flooding. Some more. You can see in the picture, the something was caused by the torrential rain, leading to the side of the mountain to collapse. As you can see in the picture, it is in fact a landslide. When earth comes, similar to an avalanche, but with earth, a landslide. People living in Sichuan, I hope the pronunciation's correct, province, I should say this Sichuan province of China, forget the typo, live in a constant fear of an something. In 2008, one with a magnitude of 7.9 left almost 90,000 people dead and 5 million people homeless. This is in fact an earthquake. Magnitude of 7.9, of course, on the Richter scale. Number 8, several firefighters have been injured while trying to put out. Put out is a phrasal verb meaning to extinguish the something which has swept across the northeast of Spain. Forest fire, also known as a wildfire. Forest fire or wildfire. Number 9, something are the most violent storms on Earth. These storms form over the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific Ocean. In other parts of the world, they're known as cyclones or typhoons. Sorry, that's what I was talking about earlier. It's not tornadoes. In fact, this in the Caribbean or so in the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific Ocean, they're known, of course, as hurricanes. Most famously, hurricanes like Katrina, etc., that devastated New Orleans, but of course, Haiti, Cuba, and all these countries suffer from these hurricanes all the time, and unfortunately aren't always given the recognition that they require. Number 10, water restrictions are in place in many regions and cities of Australia in response to chronic shortages, that means not having enough of something, resulting from, well, if there are water restrictions because there hasn't been enough rain, it's been too hot, it leads to drought, lack of water, and so on. Okay, now some idioms associated with extremes of nature and disasters. So there's a man hard at work, and it says, sorry, I can't come out tonight. I'm totally snowed something with work at the moment. It means he's got a big pile of work to do, too much work to finish. Snowed under with work. Number 2, if you've asked me, it was all a big fuss about nothing. People made a big deal about it, and it wasn't really that important. It was a real storm in a teacup. A storm in a teacup is when people make a big fuss about something which really is not that much of a problem or not that important. A storm in a teacup. Number 3, you'll find out soon enough whether or not the minister, the member of the government, has managed to something the political storm caused by his remarks, or if he'll have to resign. So in other words, whether he'll be able to survive or get through all the negative newspaper articles, etc., attacks from opposition and so on, caused by his remarks, or if he'll have to resign. And the answer is to weather the storm. It's metaphorical, obviously. If you weather a storm, literally it means you, for example, with the tornado, people hide under their houses while the tornado's spinning around above them, and then at the end, when it's past, they come out. It's kind of that idea that you survive a terrible situation for you. Okay, number 4. When my dad finds out that I've scratched his new car, he's bound to kick. It's an expression that means he's going to start shouting, get angry, protest, etc. Kick up a storm. Kick up a storm. Number 5. After the open-air concert, the park where it was held was a something area. There was rubbish everywhere. So it was all full of litter, empty bottles, cans, etc. It was a disaster area. Disaster area. Okay. Moving on to the final vocabulary area, which is on fears and phobias. So first we'll look at some common phobias, just a selection, and then some idioms as well. Okay, so complete the sentences here. Ooh, it's a nasty looking creature there. I can't even watch that film with the giant something. I suffer from extreme arachnophobia. Arachnophobia, as the picture demonstrates, is fear of spiders. I can't even watch that film with a giant spider. Number 2, I'm terrified of something. I suffer from aerophobia, which means I can't get on the plane. Anyway, it's bad for the environment. You're not supposed to fly these days, so I'm terrified of flying. Aerophobia, a fear of flying. Number 3, the actress Uma Thurman suffers from something. She's terrified of enclosed spaces. It must have been unbearable for her to have been buried alive in the film Kill Bill 2. Fear of enclosed spaces is claustrophobia. Claustrophobia. Number 4, I suffer from acrophobia, a fear of something. When I had to climb to the top of the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, I was petrified. I was really scared. So, acrophobia is a fear of heights, tall buildings, etc. Many people who suffer from something, the fear of open spaces, are afraid to leave their homes. Fear of open spaces is agoraphobia. Agoraphobia. Okay, so the idiomatic expressions associated with this area, fears and phobias. And you've got a picture of a woman who's terrified there. The woman has been living in fear, something, ever since her attacker was released from prison. She's scared that this person is going to attack her again, or even worse, kill her. She's been living in fear for her life. Fear for her life. Number 2, can you give me something to calm me down? Look at my hands. I've been shaking since I heard news. You received some terrible news and you're in a kind of state of panic, shaking like a leaf. Shaking like a leaf. If you imagine a leaf on a tree in the wind, it shakes a lot. Shaking like a leaf. Number 3, we still don't know if anyone was killed or injured in the fire, but we fear. We are not very optimistic. We think that probably there have been some deaths or injuries. Sorry, it's a bit depressing, this particular part, but anyway, fear the worst. We fear the worst. We think that that the outcome will be bad, that some people will have in fact been injured or killed. We fear the worst. Number 4, my brother will jump at the least sound. He's so easily scared. He's afraid. Well, if you're easily scared of things, if you jump when you hear a sound and so on, you could be described as being afraid of your own shadow. So he's afraid of his own shadow. Number 5, please don't sneak up on me like that. Don't approach me quietly without me seeing you. You scared me out of my wits, or you scared the daylights out of me would have been an alternative. Okay, so as I said before, this is the final lesson in this particular course. So I want to look at some can-do statements, some of the things that you should be able to do now in terms of your English, what you should be able to say, produce, and so on. So for lessons 1 to 10, you should be able to now use discourse markers to link your ideas, understand register, what things are formal or informal, and so on. When linking expressions, you should be able to talk about money and finance with the vocabulary of money, etc. we looked at. Use adverbs and adverbials to link ideas, talking about Sandra, anyway, all these kind of expressions. Use expressions with get a life, and so on. Phrasal verbs with get. Add emphasis by fronting, putting words at the start of the sentence to make them more emphatic. Hardly had I arrived when everyone left the building. That kind of thing, where you put information up front to make it more emphatic. Talk about sports, sport idioms. Use what or all to add emphasis. What I need right now is a cup of tea. I need a cup of tea now. What I need right now is a cup of tea. And form abstract nouns, words like freedom, etc. And know what words collocate with them, go together with these words. From lessons 11 to 20, you should be able to speculate or deduce about the present or the past. It must have been Peter who broke the vase, for example. You deduce that he did it. Talk about and use expressions related to time, to be on time, time flies, all these kind of expressions. Use adjectives and adverbs to express certainty, definitely won't, probably won't, and so on. Talk about art in the art world, landscapes, performance art, all that sort of stuff, and colour idioms. Idioms related to colour, to appear out of the blue, to be given a green light to do something, all that kind of stuff. Talk hypothetically with wish and if only. I wish I were taller, if only I had more money, all that kind of thing. Use dependent prepositions. These are prepositions that go with nouns or verbs, etc. For example, to depend on. The on is a dependent preposition. Criticize annoying behavior with wish plus would. I wish you would stop making so much noise, or I wish you wouldn't leave your clothes lying around, that kind of thing. Number 9, use it's high time or would rather to say that you think something should have already been done, but at least they must do it now. It's high time the council cleaned up all that graffiti. Understand the difference between commonly confused words. Use relative clauses with who, which, where, etc. How to form words, for example, verbs from nouns, for example, educate, education, educate from education, and so on. Contrast defining and non-defining relative clauses. Defining relative clauses tell you what a thing or is or identify a person, whereas non-defining just give you additional information. Use idioms related to brain and mind, a brain drain, change your mind, all these kind of things. Be more concise, using reduced relative clauses. So this is where we just use the present participle or past participle instead of a full relative clause. Understand how to use articles, a, an, the, etc. Know which words collocate with give and make, words that go together with give and make. For example, make a decision, give a presentation, all that sort of thing. Differentiate between countable and uncountable nouns. So words which can be both countable and uncountable. For example, chicken, chicken the animal, a chicken, chicken the meat, uncountable. No common adjective noun collocations, adjectives and nouns that go together. For example, a wide range of products. Okay, then from lessons 31 to 40, use correct verb patterns, when to use a gerund or an infinitive. Talk about the world of work, part-time contract, voluntary work, all that sort of vocabulary, etc. Synonyms and antonyms related to work. Use reporting verbs with different verb patterns. Different verbs, for example, he advised me to look into the matter. Advise is a different reporting verb, not just say or tell. Talk about war and warfare, things like siege, cannon, ceasefire, all that sort of stuff. Conditionals, to talk about real and unreal situations. If I had gone to the party, I would have met my, or if I hadn't gone to the party, I wouldn't have met my girlfriend, that kind of thing. Number 7, talk about technology using a range of vocabulary. Use alternatives to if, provided that, and so on. Talk about the animal world, their habitats, their body parts, for example, claws, hoofs, etc. And talk about baby animals, calves, foals, and so on. Foal, a baby horse. 41 to 50, talk about the future using different forms: present continuous, going to, future continuous. Understand in depth the difference between plans, arrangements, timetable events, where we can use present simple. The film starts at 7 o'clock. Use phrasal verbs with up and down. Use the future perfect and future continuous tenses. At this time next week, I will be lying on the beach, future continuous. In 20 years' time, the polar ice caps will have melted. This would be future perfect, I hope not. Understand the order of use of loan words from other languages. We have lots of words in English from French and other languages. Use passive structures correctly. Talk about travel, difference between trip, travel, and journey, for example. Describing places you visit as well. Use have and get something done, where someone else performs a task for you. For example, tomorrow I'm having my hair cut. Talk about food in terms of preparation and cooking. For example, grilling, boiling, and so on. And finally, lessons 51 to 60, you should be able to distance yourself from what someone has said using a verb such as seems and appears. He appears to have lost his plot or whatever. You distance yourself from the information. Use the passive with reporting verbs. It is said that the burglar has escaped with €1,000 or whatever. It's believed that kind of thing. Talk about age and life stages: childhood, adulthood, old age. Use apparently, according to, it would seem, again, distancing. According to the government minister, the economy is going really well. You're saying in his opinion, so you don't necessarily share the opinion, but you're being neutral in it. Talk about toys and games, and also idiomatic expressions associated with toys and games, such as it's all swings and roundabouts. Use verbs of seeing, see, hear, taste, etc., and other sense verbs. Talks about streams of nature, natural disasters, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, etc., and idioms related to them. Goes out to the other senses. Fears and phobias. Fear of flying, for example, aerophobia, claustrophobia, and the different idiomatic expressions to do with fears and phobias. Okay, so that's it for this course. I hope that you have enjoyed it and that you have felt that you have learned a lot, and please do continue with your learning. After advanced, obviously, you'll be looking towards proficiency level. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now.